Weeks had passed since that night in the garden, but the world around me had transformed in ways I couldn't fully comprehend. The magic that had once felt like a distant dream now pulsed within me, an undeniable force. Every step I took seemed to stir the elements, and the wind whispered my name as if it knew me better than I knew myself. Maya had been my guide, my mentor, but as the days wore on, I began to sense a change in her too. She wasn't the same. There was something darker in her eyes, a shadow that lingered beneath the surface of her smile. She had become more distant, less present, as if she was preoccupied with something I couldn't see. One evening, as we practiced together in the garden, I noticed her gaze drift to the edge of the woods. Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time I saw a flicker of fear in her expression. "Maya, what's wrong?" I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't answer immediately, her eyes still locked on the darkened trees. Then, as though shaking off a bad memory, she turned back to me with her usual calm expression. "It's nothing," she said, but her voice was tight, strained. "There are forces in this world that don't want you to awaken to your power. You must be careful." "Forces?" I asked, my heart racing. "What do you mean?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Some powers don't wish to be challenged, and the magic that flows through you now will attract them. You are not just a student anymore. You are a threat to them." I stared at her, my mind spinning. Who's after me?" Maya's eyes darkened. "I don't have all the answers, but you'll find out soon enough. You have to be ready. The true test of your power is yet to come." I didn't know what to say. The thrill of my awakening had faded into an undercurrent of dread. There was something about Maya's words that unsettled me, an unspoken warning I couldn't ignore. Chapter 7. The First Confrontation. It happened on the night of the blood moon. The air felt thick with magic, crackling in the atmosphere like a storm was about to break. Maya had told me that the blood moon would bring an unprecedented surge of power, a perfect moment for me to push the boundaries of my abilities. But as I stood in the center of the garden, preparing myself, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I closed my eyes, willing the magic to come, to rise within me as it always had. The wind stirred, but it felt different, darker, heavier. The earth beneath my feet seemed to tremble, and I felt the pull of something wrong. Suddenly I heard it, a low, guttural growl from somewhere in the shadows. My heart skipped a beat. "Maya?" I called, but there was no answer. The air was too still, too charged. Before I could react, a figure emerged from the darkness, tall and cloaked in shadows. Its eyes gleamed like burning coals, and the air around it seemed to warp, twisting like smoke. It was a man, or something that resembled one. He was draped in a cloak of black feathers, and his face was hidden in shadow, but I could feel the malevolent energy radiating off him. "So this is the one who threatens us," he spoke, his voice like a growl, deep and resonant. I felt a chill run down my spine. I tried to summon the magic, but the words I needed to speak caught in my throat. I looked around, desperate for Maya, but she was nowhere in sight. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to steady my breath. The figure tilted his head, almost amused. "I am the one who watches over the veil, the one who keeps the balance, and you, child, are a disruption." I took a step back, fear creeping into my chest. "A disruption? What are you talking about?" He stepped forward, and the shadows around him seemed to grow thicker. "Your magic is not your own. It is a borrowed thing, ancient and dangerous. It was never meant for you, and now you've awakened it." Suddenly, the ground beneath me trembled, and I was thrown off my feet. I gasped, struggling to rise as the world seemed to shift. The figure's presence was overwhelming, and I could feel his magic pressing down on me like a weight. "You will learn," he said softly. "You will learn that magic has consequences." Before I could respond, the figure raised a hand, and a dark blast of energy shot toward me. I raised my hands instinctively, but the magic I had once commanded so effortlessly seemed to slip through my fingers. The blast hit me, and I was thrown backward, crashing into the ground. I gasped for breath, the air thick with power. My limbs felt heavy, as though the very earth was trying to hold me down. I struggled to stand, but my strength was fading. "Maya!" I screamed, but the world around me was starting to blur. The figure's laughter echoed in my ears, cold and mocking. Just when I thought I couldn't take any more, a burst of light sliced through the shadows, and Maya appeared, standing tall between me and the dark figure. Her eyes were glowing with power, but there was something different in her gaze now, something that made my heart skip a beat. "Leave her alone," Maya commanded, her voice like thunder. The figure hissed, recoiling from the intensity of her light. "You think you can protect her, witch?" he snarled. "You are just as much a part of the problem as she is." Maya didn't flinch. She stepped forward, her hand glowing with raw, untamed power. "I will not let you take her," she said, and with a flick of her wrist, a blast of energy shot toward the figure, pushing him back into the shadows. He growled, but this time he did not come forward. Instead, he vanished into the night, leaving only the lingering echo of his presence. Maya knelt beside me, her expression soft but concerned. "Are you all right?" she asked, her hand gently touching my forehead. I nodded weakly, but my mind was racing. What had just happened, and why had that creature called her a witch? In the days that followed, Maya and I sat down to talk. The danger of the encounter had shaken me, but it also left me with more questions than answers. Why had Maya been so calm when the dark figure spoke of her as a witch? And what did he mean by a borrowed thing? Maya seemed reluctant to explain at first, but after I pressed her, she finally spoke. "I am not just your guide," she began, her voice low and guarded. "I was once like you. Human, with a mind to awaken to the power inside, but there was a price." I listened in silence as she revealed her truth. She had once been an ordinary woman, a soul like mine, until she had awakened to her power and found herself bound to it. The magic she had unlocked had changed her, altered her essence, and in doing so, she had become a bridge between worlds, a witch in the truest sense of the word. "The magic that runs through us is older than both of us," she said, "and it's not just a gift, it's a curse. The more you use it, the more it takes from you, and the ones who seek to control it will stop at nothing to possess it." Her words sent a chill down my spine. I was only beginning to grasp the depth of what Maya had shared. But one thing was clear: the road ahead would be anything but simple. And I had a choice to make. Would I continue down this path, embracing the magic that flowed within me? Or would I turn away, before it consumed me, as it had consumed Maya? The answer was clear, though the path was not. I was chosen, and nothing would stop me from unlocking the power within, not even the darkness that now followed me.